Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. In today's video, I'll be using Spellbinders' brand new Timeless Trees collection by Simon Hurley. The collection includes lots of fun Christmas winter dies and also a couple of new 3D embossing folders. I printed off the two sample sheets so you can see some cards and also all of the dies and embossing folders that are part of the Timeless Trees collection. I'll be using several of this set, but I don't have everything. I did select both of the new embossing folders. I love Simon's embossing folders. These are both 3D, so they do add a lot of extra detail. The first one is called Branches, and this also includes a die that will cut out one of the branches. This will be a perfect embossing folder for Christmas cards, winter cards, or you can use it year-round. I live in Washington State, and the nickname is the Evergreen State, and that's because we have lots of pine trees, at least on the western side of the state. So I think this would be a great embossing folder for general cards throughout the year. The first die set I'm showing is called Mantel Decorations. Now this set was designed to work with the Mantel Village set, although I decided not to get that set. But I really like the sentiment banner and some of the smaller images on the Mantel decoration set. This set includes the small sentiment banner, and you can do two sentiments, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. The next die set I chose is Vintage Layered Ornaments. There are 3 different styles and sizes of ornaments. You can cut out the outline, and then there's a die to add the detail on the inside. It has all of the little ornament hooks, some strings to hang the ornament, and also a ribbon with a bow. The ornament on the bottom, I put that inside piece upside down. Didn't realize it right away. I think this will be a really fun set, perfect for lovely Christmas cards. Now I'll grab the other sample sheet and show the rest of the dies and embossing folders. I'll start with the embossing folder. This one's called Bark. Has this beautiful, really deep wood grain design. This is another embossing folder that I could see using throughout the year. And the last die set I selected is Whimsical Bottle Brush Trees. I love the design of the bottle brush trees. There are 3 different sizes and 2 different types of trees you can make. Here are the 3 different bases. And there's also a die that puts that top piece on it, so it gives the base more dimension. The sample sheet also shows the sentiment die set called Handwritten Holiday Sentiments. I do have that set. It was released earlier this year, and it goes perfectly with the rest of the Timeless Trees collection. If you're interested in any of the products from the Timeless Trees collection, I do have links in the description box below. And I do have 3 cards to share with you. I have everything cut out and prepped and stored in Spellbinders craft stack trays. This is the smaller size. I've already embossed a small piece of craft cardstock, and I used the Bark 3D embossing folder. To help some of the detail from the embossing folder stand out, I'm using Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink. Just putting it all over this panel. Now you can see more of the shadows of that lovely bark detail. For the background of my card, I'm using pattern paper from Creative Expressions. This is their Christmas Plaid collection. I'll layer the emboss panel and also the pattern paper on some dark green cardstock. Whenever I have an emboss panel, I use extra adhesive since I want to make sure it stays in place. I'll put Barely Art glue on the back, layer this piece on the green cardstock, and I'll place a large acrylic block on top for some added weight while the glue dries. Now I'll put more glue on the back and adhere the emboss panel in the center of the plaid pattern paper. Put ATG tape on the back, layer this piece on green cardstock. Then I'll add my card front onto a card base. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. Whenever I have the narrow scrap pieces of pattern paper, I like to put them on the inside of the card, and it's just for a little extra detail. Now I'll set aside the card and start assembling the ornament. For the outline piece of the ornament, I cut this out from some gold pearlescent cardstock. For the front of the ornament, I use red cardstock. And when you cut that out, you end up with this fun inside piece. Kind of looks like a snowflake. So I cut it out again, this time from some red glitter paper. I'll add the red cardstock piece on the gold pearlescent piece, then inlay the red glitter piece. I love the look of the red and gold together. Once I've inlaid the glitter piece, I'll place a large acrylic block on top and let that sit for a few minutes since I am adhering several specialty cardstocks together. For the hook on the ornament, thought about using some gold mirror cardstock, but decided to go with silver mirror cardstock instead, since I already have all of the gold from the back of the ornament, and I'll also be using that gold pearlescent cardstock for the bow. I'll be adding the sentiment Noel. I used some cream pearlescent cardstock for the word, the same dark green cardstock for the outline. Just glue those pieces together. Next, I'll glue the ornament hook on the top of the ornament. Now I'll assemble the bow. There are 3 pieces for the bow. The little strings hanging down, the bow portion, and also that little center piece, which would be the knot. The last piece is fairly small, so I'm using Scrapbook.com's Craft Pro Pick tool, the wax tip end, to pick it up. So once I have all of those pieces assembled, now I can add them on the front of the card. I'll start with the string to hang the ornament. This piece is a little bit longer than I need, so I'll just put glue on about half of it and adhere it in the center of the emboss panel. And with a pair of scissors, I'll trim off the extra. And before adhering all of the die cut pieces down, I'm laying them on the card, trying to figure out placement. I'll put the sentiment above the ornament, add the bow tied around that little ornament hook, and I will be popping up the sentiment and the ornament. I'm using some thin black foam squares from Spellbinders. I will need to cut down some of the squares to fit behind the narrow areas of the sentiment. I want to make sure to have good coverage so there isn't one area that sags. I really like that the sentiment die set has the shadow piece, leaves a little more space to put foam dimension. A little harder to put foam dimension behind just the word. If I wanted to pop that up, I would cut it out several times and glue them together. But since I have that shadow piece, I don't have to worry about it. I also put foam dimension behind the ornament. Now I'll remove the release paper, add the sentiment at the top of the emboss panel, and I'll put the ornament right underneath, making sure to line it up with the string. Now I'll put glue on the back of the bow and adhere it at the top of the ornament. So there is my finished card. I love how this turned out. Beautiful traditional Christmas colors, and the ornament has lots of shimmer and sparkle. Now moving on to card number 2. This card I'm using the Whimsical Bottle Brush Tree and Mantel Decorations die sets. I'll start off by assembling the sentiment banner. I've already put together the word Christmas. Now I'll assemble the word Merry. Use some gold pearlescent cardstock for the background piece and strings of the banner, and red cardstock for the letters. Now you could cut out those individual letters from another color and inlay them. I decided to just use the 2 cardstock colors. That way the letters have that beautiful gold pearlescent shimmer. I'll be adding 3 of the bottle brush trees. I did use pattern paper. This is from Doodlebug Designs Petite Print Collections. I have 3 different shades of green, and for each of the trees, I'll glue 2 pieces together, offsetting them slightly so you can see a peek of that back color showing through. And I'm doing a different color combination for each of the trees. The first tree I assembled, you couldn't see a lot of that background color, so I did peel up the top layer. Luckily, I was able to do it without ripping it. Put more glue on the back, readjusted it, and now you can see more of that background color. Now I'll assemble the final tree. Then I'll work on the stands. I use more Doodlebug Design petite print for the main portion of the stands. And for the top area on the stands, I use dark brown cardstock. I'll put glue on the back and adhere those top areas in place. And that piece gives the stands more of a dimensional look. Now I'll attach the trees on the stands. And the stands are different heights, but depending on where you adhere the tree, you could have these all at the same height or different heights. I'm only putting glue behind the very center of the tree where it attaches to that stand post. Then I'll flip over the tree since I know I have extra glue on the back. And I'm doing all of my gluing on a cut down version of Scrapbook.com's Project Grip Mat. This is a silicone mat and it's much easier to remove adhesive from the silicone mat versus my workspace mat. So I'll let the die cut sit for a few minutes and start assembling the background of the card. I have this fun red tone-on-tone plaid design. I'll layer it on red cardstock. And this pattern paper is from another Doodlebug Design petite print collection. On the front of this panel, I'm adding a large white arch. I use Spellbinders arch labels and tag die set, and I cut it out from some brushed white cardstock from Spellbinders. So it has this beautiful pearlescent finish. I'll place the 3 bottle brush trees at the bottom of the arch panel so I can figure out placement for the sentiment. I'll add Mary down first. And the sentiment banner string isn't quite long enough to go all the way across this background panel. Probably should have cut it just a tiny bit shorter, but I think it still works out. After adhering the word Mary, I'll add Christmas underneath. I love how the 2 sentiment banner pieces hang together. You can connect the very ends, and it still leaves enough room between the 2 words. Now I'll add the 3 bottle brush trees at the bottom of the arch, putting the right and left down first. Then I'll put the tallest tree in the center. And the center tree is also the 2 lighter shades of green pattern paper. Next, I'll attach the red pattern paper panel on some craft cardstock. The craft cardstock panel is A2 size, and the red plaid pattern paper is 3 3/4 of an inch by 5 inches. The red cardstock layer is an additional 1/8 of an inch. Then I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. Overall, I am keeping my cards fairly simple, but I decided to add a couple of gem stickers at the very top of each of the trees. I'm using Spellbinders Peridot Gems, beautiful green color. I'll put the very smallest size on the top of the right and left tree and the next size up on the top of the center tree. And I did add a tiny drop of glue just to make sure the gem stickers stay in place. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 2. Now moving on to my final card, number 3. I've already embossed a dark teal cardstock panel using the new Branches embossing folder. And to help some of that design really pop, I'm brushing over the panel with a metallic silver ink pad from Honeybee Stamps. So now you can really see the embossed detail. I'll layer this piece on more dark teal cardstock just to give it a little separation. I'll put barely art glue on the back, making sure to get good coverage since this is an embossed piece. Then I'll layer it on the dark teal cardstock. And that cardstock layer is an additional 1/8 of an inch. The emboss panel is 3 5/8 of an inch by 4 7/8 of an inch. So that cardstock layer is 3 3/4 of an inch by 5 inches. Then I'll put glue on the back and adhere this panel on some pattern paper. It's a white and really light gray diagonal stripe pattern paper from Doodlebug Design. Now I'll add my card front onto a card base. And since I didn't wait long enough for the metallic ink to dry completely, I did get ink all over my workspace mat. So I'll quickly clean that up, just spritzed it with water and wiped it down using Scrapbook.com's brand new Crafty Cleanup Cloths. These are so nice for crafting since they're reusable and washable. Now I'll start working on the ornament. And it wasn't until I was doing voiceover that I realized I used the same ornament shape as the first card. I had planned on using a different shape, but I guess I wasn't paying enough attention when I was prepping my cards. I cut out 2 of the ornament background pieces, one from brushed white cardstock and the other from a pink tone-on-tone polka dot paper from Doodlebug. I cut a tiny little hillside from the white brush cardstock piece, creating a little snowy hill for the deer to stand on. And the deer image is from the Mantel Decorations die set. Use 2 different shades of brown cardstock, the darker color for the deer's antlers. For the top portion of the ornament with the little hook, I used some silver holographic cardstock. I'll be adding the sentiment Merry Christmas, and I've already gone ahead and assembled it. I will pop up the ornament using more foam dimension. Make sure to get good coverage. For the ornament string, I use more of the silver holographic mirror paper, but I end up not using it. I'll glue down the sentiment first, putting it at the top of the card. After adhering the word Merry, I'll put Christmas underneath, making sure to line up the right and left side of the sentiment banner strings. I use white cardstock for the banner string and darker pink cardstock for the outline of the words. Now I'll add the ornament underneath the sentiment. And instead of the entire bow with the strings, I'm just adding the bow at the top of the ornament, and I cut this out from some silver glitter cardstock. So there is my finished card. Love how this one turned out. The deer inside the ornament is so fun, and I love the look of pink and teal together. Now here's another look at the 3 cards I made using Spellbinders' brand new Timeless Trees collection by Simon Hurley. If you're interested in any of the products from the new Timeless Trees collection, I do have links in the description box below. This is a beautiful collection and perfect for Christmas cards. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.